Hey, what's happening? Sheil Kapadia here from Philly.com. We have a special guest, Wes Bunting here from the National Football Post. We're talking Eagles today. Obviously, they made a lot of offseason moves, have 5 picks in the first 87, sitting at number 24 in the first round. I saw in one of your recent mock drafts, you have him taking Everson Griffen with that pick up. Why does he make sense?
Well, he's a big physical guy at this stage who can rush off the edge. And we know there are some questions, even with bringing Trapp in. They still have Trent Cole. But there needs to be some more size, more power on that defensive line, especially at the defensive end position. Griffen has tremendous upside. Didn't quite play up to his physical abilities consistently at USC, but has a very high ceiling. I think he's a nice fit. We know the Eagles like to take those USC boys early in the first round. Griffen fits the bill.
Yeah, we saw that obviously with Mike Patterson a few years ago. Say they do go defensive line there with the first pick. Obviously, they've got 3 of the first 55, some couple picks in the second round. A lot of people looking at cornerback. They dealt Sheldon Brown. They have Asante Samuel now. Ellis Hobbs, in my opinion, is not going to get the job done as a starting corner, but who are a few corners who might fall into that range who could kind of come in and maybe start right away?
Well, one guy who I love is a local product. Rutgers, Devin McCourty. I think this is a big physical guy who can play press. He can play off coverage. He can tackle in space. I think he can really bring the wood in and out, both in areas of the game. I like him a lot. And another guy is Patrick Robinson from Florida State. Fits what the Eagles want to do, can turn, run down the field, can play on an island. I think those are 2 guys, second, third round range that could definitely generate some interest.
I like that you said McCourty's a physical guy. Obviously playing opposite Samuel, you want that right mix. They had it in Sheldon Brown, one of the better tacklers in the secondary, and maybe they'll pick up a guy in the second round there. Other area of need, interior linemen. Eagles have a couple guys pretty good against the run, Broderick Bunkley and Mike Patterson, but they lack that pass rush up the middle. Any guys you could see in the second round, first round, or even later who might fit their needs there?
Well, this is one guy you'll remember when I say his name is Tyson Alualu from California. He's an undersized guy, 6'2", around 290, played the 5 technique at California, but some teams look at him as a defensive end, someone to kick him inside to defensive tackle. But he's a one-gap guy, can rush up the field, has a motor that never stops running, a tough, instinctive guy. I like him a lot. I think he can be one of the better interior pass rushers, or you can play him outside as a base defensive end.
Okay, let's move to the offensive side of the ball. Also interior linemen. Eagles have some questions at center and at guard. A guy that might make sense for them early on.
Well, first off, you have to look at Maurkice Pouncey from Florida. This is a guy who played the center at Florida, one of the highest rated prospects in this year's draft, but because he plays an interior line position, will fall a bit on draft day. Not a huge position to need throughout the NFL. However, he also has the ability to move outside to guard, gives him some versatility inside. Johnny Jerry in the second round from Ole Miss. A Leonard Davis type prospect, big physical mauler, can drive people off the football. Those are 2 guys to keep an eye on.
You mentioned Pouncey. Is he a guy who is better at center or at guard, or is he pretty good at both those positions?
Well, he's played both at Florida. I think ideally he's a center in the NFL, but with Tim Tebow never being under center, he's never been asked to snap to quarterbacks under center. So I think to make the transition a bit smoother, they start him at guard, give him a training camp to get used to it, then with the whole offseason next year, kick him back inside the center.
We'll see what the Eagles do there. Jamal Jackson, obviously question marks about when he'll be ready. Could go with Nick Cole, which they did at the end of last season, or could draft a guy who comes in right away. Last position I got to ask you about, quarterback, obviously has been all the buzz around the Eagles this offseason, potentially looking for a mid-round prospect who might come in, back up, or even be a third-string guy, and eventually a backup guy or even better. Who are some guys who might fit their system there?
We have to look at some talented athletes. A guy like Mike Kafka from Northwestern is a guy that can get outside the pocket, throw the football down the field, which is what the Eagles love to do, and he can never count out any BYU prospect. If Andy Reid's at the helm, Max Hall, another accurate passer, a guy that likes to play in rhythm, gets the ball out of his hands quickly, can boot outside the pocket. Those are 2 guys I'd look at.
Obviously, that need could change depending on if the Eagles finally find a suitor for Michael Vick, but as it stands, obviously, no one's sure if there's interest there. So that's Wes Bunting, National Football Post. Read his stuff leading up to the draft and obviously after the draft, and you can read all our Eagles coverage in our special draft section on Philly.com. Thanks for joining me. I'm Sheil Kapadia.